It's episode 617 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. On today's show, I'm breaking down a great clutch win, Ezequiel Duran coming up big, and which Rangers prospects are going to get promoted at midseason. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. It's Friday, June 17th. Your Rangers are 30-33, sitting alone at second place in the American League West, 9 games behind the Astros in the division, and 4 games behind Cleveland for that third wild card. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is hit that subscribe button and comment anything below on YouTube. Now, this was a clutch win for the Rangers. Not a lot of offense in this one, and another really solid performance from Martin Perez. He went 7 innings in this one, only allowed 1 run, struck out 5. This is a Detroit offense that has been horrendous. They have been just straight up really bad outside of course, Miguel Cabrera, who hasn't been quite himself lately, but he is hitting 294 and OPS over 700, which is much better than most of the other hitters in that lineup. I know that there have been a lot of frustrations with Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. They haven't started off the season quite as hot as you would have liked them to, but those concerns about Javi Baez, those have been on complete display right now. He's 29 years old, and he is having a just terrible season. Just straight up terrible. Only 3 home runs, an OPS of 524, on base of 232, and hitting just 190 and 1 stolen base and just under 200 at-bats on the season. Really glad the Rangers didn't sign him. Yeah, it's been a disappointing start to the year for Semien and Seager, but they've both been much better than Javi Baez so far this year. And the rest of their lineup, I mean, nobody's really doing much of anything. I mean, Victor Reyes, the right fielder that's batting leadoff, is doing okay offensively. He's hitting 300 with an OPS of 740, not doing a whole lot of damage, but, getting on base at a decent rate. But this offense is bad, and the Rangers took advantage of it. They only allowed 1 run in this one. Dennis Santana came in, got the 8th inning. I like him in that role, not just, whenever there's somebody on base, we're going to put Dennis Santana there. Like, just let him come in with a clean inning and in these big situations, as opposed to John King, who has not done well and is not going to be in as many high leverage situations. And then Joe Barlow came in and got his 12th save on the season. Impressive stuff. He bounced back after a rough couple of last outings, got the win. Rangers needed to have this win. If they lost 1-0, I would have been extremely upset. But the Rangers offense didn't do much of anything in this one either. Only 4 hits in the entirety of the game and 5 walks. 2 of those by Corey Seager, 1 of those walks by Marcus Semien, who got on base and then got picked off quite promptly. Not great there. Nobody had a multi-hit game in this one. Cole Calhoun had a hit. Charlie Culberson came in to pinch run for him in that 9th inning. That's where the Rangers got all of their offense, and it was all from Ezequiel Duran, who came up huge. Corey Seager started off with a walk, then Adolis got him over to second base. Cole Calhoun got hit by a pitch, and Jonah Heim called out on strikes. Nathaniel Lowe walks. Bases are loaded. 2 outs, and who else but Ezequiel Duran smacks a ball right down that right field line. You could not place it any better. Rolls into the corner. He uses his speed, which he is in the top, I believe, 3% of baseball in terms of sprint speed. Let me go double check that. Yeah, he's in the 97th percentile in terms of sprint speed in Major League Baseball. Runs all the way to third base. Then Brad Miller strikes out. Rangers have a 2-run lead, 3-1 lead. They didn't have any runs before that, and again, Ezequiel Duran making things happen in big moments. We saw on Sunday him coming up with that 3-run shot in the 11th inning, then placing the tag on the runner to end the game in the 12th inning. This guy just keeps making big plays when it matters most. He is not scared of the moment. He is not scared of the big leagues at all, and that has been really, really encouraging. I mean, it shows why he's going to stick up at this point. He is not going to go down. I mean, offensively, he hasn't looked overmatched by any means. He's probably going to have a little bit of a slump coming up here because he never, ever walks. He's got one walk so far in his, 48 plate appearances so far in 12 games. He's got 2 home runs, a triple now, and 3 doubles. He's been a .3 WAR player according to Baseball Reference, which is tied with Cole Calhoun. Cole Calhoun has done that in 58 games, and Ezequiel Duran's done it in just 12. That's really, really impressive stuff. He's not far off from being in the top 12 in terms of WAR for position players. He has just been super valuable. His defense, there's been some moments where he's made some pretty great defensive plays. He's got some quick reactions. He's just not used to the angles and stuff at third base, which again, he only played 10 minor league games at third base before coming into this. Actually, it might have been 12, but not very many at all. He hadn't been used to those angles, but he has got the glove, the reactions, the arm for shortstop. He's played some second base as well, and he has just been a very, very valuable player. I don't know why Charlie Culberson's still on here because he's been a negative .6 WAR player, negative .7 in 34 games, and he's no longer. There's not that many guys that aren't. That are able to, they don't have a lack of guys who can play shortstop, so that Charlie Culberson is a necessity on this roster. They've got Duran, who can do it in a pinch. They've got Corey Seager, who's their primary guy, and they've got Marcus Semien. That's 3 guys who can play shortstop. Charlie Culberson's value is all in mashing lefties. He has not done that this year. Not to just completely bash on him, but a little bit to bash on him. I mean, the rise of Zeke Duran and the emergence, although it was just slight, in Josh Smith, who is now back in AAA on a rehab assignment. So we could see him back up at the major league level in that Charlie Culberson role, or maybe not. I don't know, because they're going to want to get both of these guys in Duran and Smith everyday plate appearances, and maybe they just keep Smith in the minors for a little while just to give him those everyday plate appearances, because, I mean, Smith was really good when he was up, but he's hurt, and Duran, they said if he lights the world on fire, then they're going to make moves to keep him there. And he has done so. He has hit well. He has defended okay. He has been aggressive on the base paths, and he has not been afraid of the moment. That is an extremely valuable player to have on your roster, and he has taken that third base job and run with it. It's been very, very encouraging to see him do that. Now, I wish they would get some more offense in the next game, but it's going to be a tough one. I mean, Bo Brisky was really, really solid in this one. I mean, I knew he'd put up decent numbers for the year, but he was just straight up good. It wasn't the Rangers' offense was that bad. I mean, they weren't great, but still, Bo Brisky, 7 shutout innings, only 3 hits and 2 walks, struck out 6. He looked like the real deal. They've got some really good pitchers over at the Tigers. It's just, if they could hit at all, they might be a half-decent team. But right now, they are 24 and 39, 4th place in the worst division in all of baseball. They are not quite coming up as fast as people thought they would, and the Rangers are being half-decent, a little bit faster than people thought they would be at the start of the season, which is just kind of funny because there's a lot more people that thought, oh, no, Detroit, that's the one that they made more moves. They're going to be better, faster than the Rangers. And so far this season, this has not been the case. Now, speaking of coming up and, rebuilds and things like that, I'm going to look a little bit at the minor leagues. We've got about a week before the middle of the season, which is when we typically see a whole bunch of players called up or promoted, more likely than straight up called up to the big leagues. I'm going to take a look at level by level, which players are going to be most likely to be called up at the midseason, which guys need a little bit more seasoning, and which guys are starting to be a little bit concerning. But first, this episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Our next partner is a product that I use literally every day. I started taking it because, I didn't have time for all of these different supplements. I wanted better gut health, more energy, and an optimized immune system. Now I've been on it for a while, and it's super healthy. I feel better about myself, and I actually kind of look forward to it in the morning. So what is it? It's 1 delicious scoop of AG1. You're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day off right. Special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, nervous system, immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All of these things are great things you want to improve on. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. We have an important favor to ask y'all. We've been putting together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcasts even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcasts. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes it can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thanks for your help. Now, the Rangers have had a pretty up and down minor league system, just minor league wise. There's been some guys who have been pretty darn good. Ezequiel Duran has been obviously the standout performer in the minor league so far. So good that he got promoted straight up from Double A and has been dominating at the big league level in his short stint here so far. But what about the lower level guys? Who are some of the lower level guys to keep an eye on? Now, it's hard for me to get eyes on that. There's not that many people out in Hickory and in Down East, but I do have a few people that I trust, who I follow, who have gotten some eyes on these guys and looking at their stats and seeing which guys should probably be about to get the bump. Now, I'm not looking at any of the Arizona Rookie League guys because, again, it's a much lower level and they only just started. And if they've put up great numbers in like 5 games, then okay, they're probably not going to be promoted because there's a reason they started at that level. But we're going to start at the low A, Down East Wood Ducks. We're going to start with 19-year-old outfielder Alejandro Ozuna. He is a guy who was not on a whole bunch of prospect lists. He is a Mexican outfielder, plays center field, left field, and right field, all kind of about the same amount. He's got 6 home runs so far in 50 games, 207 plate appearances. He's also got 9 doubles and a triple, hitting .305 with an on base, over .400, and slugging .471 with an OPS of .879. That is what you like to see. The guy is a left-handed hitter. He also throws left-handed. Not a guy who is on a lot of people's radars, but this performance in the first half of the season has really got to put him on some people's radars because he has been very, very impressive so far, and I have loved what I've seen from him. Another guy who I think is just about ready for the next level is 21-year-old outfielder Yuri Rodriguez. He is a guy who came to the Rangers out of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. He plays left field, right field, and center field. He's 6'4", 200 pounds, 21 years old, born in April of 2001. He's already 21. Gosh, that makes me feel old. But in 43 games so far this year, 168 plate appearances, he's got 8 dingers, 5 doubles, and a triple. He's got an on base of .339, slugging .460, and OPS just 1 point south of .800. Some solid stuff from him there. He's playing a lot of center field, a lot of left field, and a little bit of right field. Not so much right field this year. He hasn't played it at all this year. DH 9 games, 6 in center field, but mostly in left field. 28 games in left field for him so far this year. But again, for him to get promoted, there's going to have to be some guys. There are some outfield positions that are pretty much locked down, almost all of them, at the next level. Maybe he could play a little bit more center field. But again, Yuri Rodriguez and Alejandro are going to have to fight out for those center field at-bats right now because they have not yet promoted 2 of the guys who I think should get promoted at the Down East level or at the Hickory level to Double A, but we'll get to them in just a second. Pitching-wise, there's not a whole lot that I think are just about ready at the Down East level. They haven't been doing super great, but a couple of guys who I think might be there. There we go. Larson Kindrich, who has pitched in 8 games. 5 of those were starts, 35 innings, 53 strikeouts, but does have 19 walks, just under 5 walks per 9 innings. Hasn't allowed a home run yet in 8 games pitched. That's nice to see. You love to see that. But the 13.6 Ks per 9, that's impressive, as well as 5.1 hits per 9. That's also really darn impressive, and I've loved what I've seen there. Josh Smith only pitched in 3 games at this level, 3.2 innings, and he's already been bumped up twice. He's gone all the way from Down East to Frisco, and that has been very, very impressive to do that in half a season. He's one of those helium guys. He is rising quickly through the system, a left-handed reliever, guy to keep your eye on for sure. is Josh Smith, the other Josh Smith, not Josh H. Smith. There's a reason why they differentiated between them. But Mitch Bratt and Emiliano Teodo are also guys who I think you might want to keep an eye on for guys to get promoted to the next level. Emiliano Teodo has pitched in 10 games. 6 of those were starts, 33 innings with 43 strikeouts. That's really encouraging. But again, he also has a little bit of a walk issue, walking more than 5 per 9 innings, but striking out 11.6 per 9 innings, has a 3.51 ERA, and does not have a home run problem like some of these other pitchers have, which has been encouraging. Mitch Bratt has pitched six starts, 7 games total, 24 innings, striking out 34 and walking 10 with 3 home runs, so 1.1 homer per 9 innings, under 4 walks per 9 innings, which still isn't great, 3.8. You like to see that be a little bit better, but not a huge problem like a lot of these Rangers starting pitchers have done. So those are the only 2 guys who I think starting wise, I guess the other guy that I just mentioned as well might also be Larson Kendricks, might also be one that they look at. Kendricks is 23 years old, so I think that might lead them to be a little bit more aggressive with him. Emiliano Teodo is just 21 years old, and Mitch Bratt is a lefty who is 18 years old, so they might give him there for a little bit more season. He only has 24 innings, but by mid-July, I think he could definitely get that bump. I don't necessarily think it's going to be next week, now that I'm thinking a little bit more about it and his age, factoring that in, but again, I wouldn't be totally surprised, but you have to have some of those guys called up at the next level. Now let's look at that next level. High A Hickory. The main guy who I think needs to be called up like yesterday is Luisangel Acuna. He has been doing everything that you want him to do. He has missed a little bit of time. He's only played in 27 games, 119 plate appearances, but in that time he has been straight up fantastic. An OPS over 1,000 at 1018, on base of 420, slugging 598, 7 dingers, and 7 doubles in 27 games. That is super encouraging. Also 13 stolen bases and only caught stealing once, 16 walks to 34 strikeouts. The guy is 20 years old and absolutely crushing it at high A, and you love to see that. He has played a lot of shortstop this year, a little bit of second base, 18 games at shortstop, 5 second, DH'd for 2 games. He has been very encouraging offensively, but has had a few too many errors at shortstop, 7 errors in 80 chances. Not great. Could clean that up a little bit, but again, you're putting up an OPS over 1,000 while playing mostly shortstop. I think that could be really encouraging. I really want to see him in AA. The guy who is holding down shortstop was switching back and forth with the guy who is now holding down third base at the big league level in Jonathan Arnell at the AA level. So I think there's definitely some room there for a promotion. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at some of these high A Hickory pitchers that could get promoted and who in Frisco, including Jack Leiter, could be due for promotion in the near future. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's NHL Stanley Cup Finals. You can't bet on the NHL Finals anymore. Congrats to the Warriors, who just took home that championship last night. But you can still bet on Major League Baseball. You got plenty of season left there for the Rangers, betting on Marcus Semien to bounce back, betting on the Rangers to maybe make the playoffs if you're feeling scrappy. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Now, let's take a look at these high A Hickory pitchers. There have been quite a few good ones. The rotation was off to a really shaky start for the season. A lot of these guys have had some really bad walk problems, but quite a few of them have gotten them under control just a little bit more. Mason Englert, I think he and, of course, Owen White are the 2 guys to keep an eye on for potentially being called up for that rotation spot, which is now open with Cole Reagans being promoted to AAA. By the way, I'll talk about him in just a minute and when I think he could make the big leagues. But both of those guys have pitched in 10 games. Englert has started 10 of those games, has a 3.47 ERA in 49 innings, has struck out 54, only 2.6 walks per 9 innings. You love to see that. Under 1 home run per 9 innings. You really love to see that. So he's not having any walk or home run issues, which it seems like every single starting pitcher in this organization so far this year has either had a walk issue or a home run issue, or some of them have had both, which is really not what you want to see. But Mason Englert hasn't had either. He's 22 years old. very encouraging stuff from him so far this season, and I've really, really liked it. Has the lowest starter ERA for any starter in that level. Owen White, his overall numbers don't look as great, but his last few starts, like I talked about earlier this week, have been absolutely fantastic. He's got a 4.27 ERA in 52 and 2/3 innings. Has struck out 72 on the season. That's 12.3 strikeouts per nine, 3.1 walks per nine, and 1.2 dingers per nine. But his last few starts have been absolutely magnificent. 7 innings and 11 strikeouts and just 2 walks in his most recent start, which came on the 11th. So he's probably going to start tonight, and we'll see how that works out. And then 6 innings in the start before that with 10 strikeouts, 2 runs. Both of those were earned, but he has been excellent. No home runs in either of those 2 starts. Had 2 homers per start in the 2 starts before that. But 10 games this year, he has been absolutely fantastic, going 5 or more innings in, I believe, 7 of the 10 games he's pitched in this year. That's really encouraging to see him be efficient and have a bunch of high strikeout games and have him go deep into games, especially the 7-inning start at the high A level. Very, very encouraging. 96 pitches thrown in that one. Love what I'm seeing. He's probably going to be the first one called up, if not Mason Englert. But both of those guys, I think, are just about ready for the Double A level, and I'm really, really itching to see Owen White in person. That would be... I'm really looking forward to my first time to see him in person. But yeah, he has been very, very encouraging to start this year. Now, let's look at Double A, the level that I've actually seen in person the most of. And by the most of, I mean at all. And in terms of guys who are just about ready for the next level, well, we have Ezequiel Duran. I thought he was just about ready for a AAA call-up, and the Rangers said, whoop, nope, it's time to come up to the big leagues because we have a need, and we think you can fulfill it. And he did. A 939 OPS in his minor league 45 games, exactly 200 plate appearances. JP Martinez is an interesting guy. He was a high-money guy. I believe he was out of Cuba, but hasn't done a whole lot in his minor league career. Yeah, was born in Baracoa. Oh my God, I just completely butchered that. But Julio Pablo Martinez has not done a whole lot in the minor leagues so far. He finally made it up to Frisco last year. Didn't do a whole lot there. But this year, offensively, has been a different story. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him a call-up. He is 26 years old. So, again, he is kind of old for the level. Nearly 2 years older than the average Double A player, which isn't super encouraging. But he's got an 895 OPS that's worth mentioning. He's got 8 home runs, 3 triples, and 4 doubles so far this year. 28 walks to 49 strikeouts. I don't know. He hasn't looked overmatched at the plate. I don't necessarily think that he's going to be an everyday starting big leaguer because, again, he's 26 years old and still in Double A and not absolutely crushing it. But he's got an on-base over 400 and slugging nearly 500. That's good. It's worth mentioning. But Jonathan Arnell is the guy who I think is probably the most ready of these other guys that are still there in Double A. He is a guy who, I talked about him, I believe, on yesterday's show, plays second base, shortstop, third base, center field, right field, left field, pretty much everywhere. Mostly at shortstop this year, but is a legit good defensive center fielder, legit good defender at shortstop, and everywhere that I've seen him play so far this year. He's turned on the power a little bit more. 7 homers, 8 doubles, 2 triples in 53 games so far this year, and on base of 388, slugging just under 500 at 493 and hitting 345. He's always made some really good contact, walked 15 times to 45 strikeouts this year. I like what I've seen from him. I think he's ready for that next level, and that will tell us a little bit more about, is this guy an everyday big leaguer, which I think is on the table. I heard some scouts give him a 50. I think, on terms of overall future potential, I think that's about accurate. I think we could see if he could be a little bit better than that, but doesn't have a whole lot of power. Turned it on a little bit more this year. Good contact rate, good defense, kind of a super utility into the bench role kind of guy. Could provide more value than Eli White. Not quite the defender or the speed that Eli White has, but a guy who can play all those different positions, which Eli White did play in the infield a little bit. Haven't seen him there in many years, but or at least this year, I should say. I think he might have played third base a little bit last year. But again, those super utility guys have a whole lot of value. Blaine Krim, I think, is just about ready. He is on the edge. He's one of those guys who is a first base only type of guy. He's 25 years old. He's got an 877 OPS with 12 dingers and 12 doubles so far this year. 22 walks to 43 strikeouts. On base in the 350s, slugging 522. That's encouraging stuff, but he is a first base only guy. So we've seen these guys before, and we've seen them not quite work out. When you're a first base only, you've got to absolutely crush it offensively, absolutely mash everything that's put in your way. He's done pretty well so far this year, but not. You got to have basically an OPS over like 950 at each level. And even then, it's going to be tough to crack into that big league roster or any big league roster to hit first base. Actually, well, I mean, maybe Detroit could use him with how bad their offense has been so far. But he's going to need to hit a little bit more for a little bit longer. But there's not really anybody blocking him at first base at the AAA level. So whenever they think he's ready, they could just go ahead and call him up. Dustin Harris, I think, needs a little bit more seasoning. Right now, he is in a bit of a rough spot for the month of June. In his last 7 days, he only has 1 home run and an OPS of 723. For him, that's struggling. He's hitting 200 on base, under 275, and slugging 450. So, yeah, not great, not in a great way right now. But I think once he gets out of this little slump, then he will start to turn it on. His last 28 days, he's got 19 games under his belt in that time, 6 home runs, and an OPS of 887. So, like, overall, he has been doing really well at AA, and it's just get out of this little slump that you're in, and then we will start to see you at the AAA level. He's 22 years old, so 2.2 years younger than the average player. Playing some left field. I think he's mainly just played left field so far this year. Did play third base last year, but yeah, has played 1 game at first base, 35 games at left field, and 15 at DH. That's kind of where he is. First base, DH, left field. But the guy's got the bat for it, and he's got a little bit more defensive versatility than Blaine Krim, which I just talked about. But again, I've been really encouraged with what I've seen from him so far at AA. In terms of the pitching at AA, who's going to get called up? Well, I thought, okay, well, I don't know what Chase Lee needs to do to get called up, and I just realized that he had been called up, so I've missed my chance to see Chase Lee in person. Every time I've gone, he has not pitched in the game, which has been very frustrating, but I'm sure we'll see him at the big league level in no time. But his first outing, he went, I believe his first 10 outings in AA where he didn't allow a run, but his first outing he allowed 3 runs at the AAA level. That's baseball. I think he's still going to be fine. But also, who got the bump? Their best starting pitcher in Cole Reagans. He has been very encouraging at AA. They thought, okay, it's about time for you to go to AAA. And he went to AAA and had a great first start. In terms of the other starting pitchers, I think Jack Leiter is probably the next one on the bump. There's been kind of disappointing overall numbers for most of these Frisco starting pitchers outside of Cole Reagans, but Leiter does have a 5.75 ERA in 11 games. 10 of those were starts, 40.2 innings, 50 strikeouts. But again, he's got the walk problem. That's something that I think he'll get under control. It's still only 4.2 per 9, which isn't great, but isn't horrendous like some of the other pitchers have been doing. But again, overall, I think he's better than those numbers indicate, and I think he is not far away from a AAA call-up. I don't think it's going to be next week, but I wouldn't be surprised if sometime like mid-July is when they call him up. I also wouldn't be surprised if it is next week, just because, they want to be aggressive with this guy. And while he's still got some lessons to learn, some of those numbers have been inflated by, Amarillo just being the most hitter-friendly park in all of baseball right now. But he has been very encouraging. The stuff is just as good as advertised. He is an incredibly hard worker, very good baseball mind. And, outside of him, I don't think any other starting pitcher is, right on the verge of getting the bump up to AAA. But I wouldn't be surprised if Fernario Zuna was the next one of those relief pitchers who gets called up. He's 26 years old, at 2.05 ERA in 20 games, and more strikeouts than innings pitched, and does not have a walk problem or a homer problem. That's encouraging. That's what you want from your bullpen guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next one called up. Now, let's look a little bit at the AAA level and who is ready for the jump to the big leagues. And we've got pretty much nobody. That's the way AAA goes. Usually it is a way station for guys who are, not quite ready for the big leagues and, too bad to go somewhere else, or too good to go somewhere else, but not good enough to go up to the big leagues. We did see Jesus Tinoco come up to the big league level. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays there for a little while. I've liked what I've seen from him so far, but in terms of the other guys, starting pitching has not been great at all so far. Jake Latz has been kind of a mixed bag. 4.5 walks per 9 and nearly 2 home runs per 9 innings. That's not great. He has had a problem with that. Cole Winn has had a big walk problem as well. It's 5.7 walks per 9 innings. That's not great. Really needs to get that under control in 49 innings. And not striking out a whole lot of guys either. That's a little worrying. Yuri Rodriguez is a guy who I don't think long-term is going to be a starter, and I wouldn't be surprised if they moved him to the bullpen sooner as opposed to later. Actually, just kidding. They've already done that. Completely right off what I just said. He was a starter last year, and now they have him in the minor leagues as a bullpen guy. Kohei Arihara has pitched in 7 starts for him. So, yeah, that's kind of the state of this Round Rock rotation. You got Spencer Howard, who has been not great. ERA is under 5, but again, he's having the same walk problems, 4.9 walks per 9 innings. Not as much of a dinger problem as he had in the big league level, where he's allowing like a dinger per inning almost at that point. Just 0.6 homers per 9 innings, but 10 hits per 9 innings is not great, not what you want. But 10.7 strikeouts is what you want. So I don't think he's long for a starting role, but again, I have been wrong before. Nick Schneider has been kind of lit up at AAA. That's kind of why he hasn't been at the big league level. I was a little surprised that he wasn't sticking at the big level, but he's still got a little bit more seasoning. He was kind of a helium guy who rose to the system pretty quickly last year, but he's got great stuff, still needs a little bit more seasoning. AJ Lexie has not been great at all in 13 starts, an ERA over 7.5 in 56 innings. Does have more strikeouts than innings pitched, but has 2.9 home runs per 9 innings. 2.9. That's not great. Same with the 5.4 walks per 9 innings and 11 hits per 9 innings. He's just been absolutely lit up. I think long term, I thought he might be a starter, but if he's getting lit up like this, maybe just put him in the pen, let that velo really, really tick up there, and watch him dominate at that level. In terms of AAA, Bubba Thompson has kind of fallen off a cliff so far. I mean, Maybreeze Valoria, the 25-year-old catcher, still has an OPS over 900, as does Yohel Pozo, who's still allegedly a catcher, but really just a DH only type of guy. Hitting 346 on base of 385, slugging over 500 at 519. He's got 5 dingers in 41 games so far. Really encouraging stuff from the pair of those guys that I didn't expect really anything from. It's nice. It's a nice little bonus so that if, God forbid, there is a Sam Huff injury or an injury to Jonah Heim, you've got somebody at AAA who is performing well and might be serviceable for a short stint with Mitch Garver, probably not able to catch for the foreseeable future. So that's who I think is going to get called up. I'm encouraged to see what's going to happen. I'm encouraged to get some new guys at AA. It's been a really good crop of guys at AA so far. Wouldn't mind if they kept Jack Leiter just long enough for me to see him do one more start. But again, if they want to call him up, I'd rather see him do those big starts in Arlington as soon as possible, which I think is probably going to happen at some point next year. Encouraging stuff from the minor leagues, encouraging stuff from Ezequiel Duran coming up with that big hit. So thank y'all so much for listening to this edition of Locked On Rangers. For your next listen, go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully. Gives you a unique perspective on the major leagues, both past and present. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back on Monday talking about this weekend series. Maybe even a weekend sweep for the Rangers. If they get that sweep, they'll be above 500 for the first time this year, which would be absolutely amazing. I don't know if they'll do it, but if they take 3 out of 4, I will be a happy camper. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.